One of the most difficult things for golfers to do is to transfer their practice to the golf course. Do you hit it great on the driving range only to find that when you get onto the golf course, your strike and consistency falls apart? Well, if that sounds like you, you're going to want to listen to today's video because there's a reason this happens and it's not entirely your fault. The real reason that you struggle to take your driving range game to the golf course is because of the environment in which we practice, and more specifically, the surface from which you hit from. When you train on a driving range match, you're actually learning poor low point control. Low point control is the ability to control where this club hits the ground. And for those of you that don't know, the best players are hitting the ball first and the ground second every single time when they strike the ball from the grass. In order to do that, you need a couple of things to be in place. You need to have a descent of the club into the golf ball. That would be an angle of attack that's slightly down or slightly negative. That would be true for all shots that are hit from the ground, hitting slightly down on the golf ball. And at the same time, the location of the low point of the swing would therefore happen after the ball. So you'd hit the ball first and the ground second. Most people are familiar with the fact that that's what's supposed to happen, but obviously from a driving range mat, you don't get the feedback of really where the club hits the ground. And here's the problem. You're actually able to hit the ground in the wrong place when you practice on a driving range, training poor low point control, but with the illusion of hitting good shots. So when you miss-hit the ball on a mat, you can actually still hit what looks like a great shot. As I say, it's giving you the illusion of good ball striking, but once you try and take that skill from the driving range to the golf course, it breaks down every single time. Let me show you exactly what I mean. So I'm set up for my practice session. I've got my bucket of balls. I'm ready to go and implement all the things I learned from my pro in our recent lesson, or maybe the most recent YouTube video that I watched. I'm going to go to the range and I'm intending on improving, or maybe you're indoors at a simulator like I am today, and I'm going to go ahead and hit some shots into the screen. The problem is this ground that we're hitting from is giving the illusion of good strike. Let me show you what I mean. That shot felt really nice. It was a decent looking shot, and I wouldn't be unhappy with that outcome. But when I look at the metrics of that shot, I noticed that the low point of my swing was only 1 inch after the ball, and I only hit 1 degree down. Now those are numbers that may not mean much to you, but what I said to you previously and earlier in this video was that when you hit from the ground, you need a couple of things to be in place. You need to have a downward or negative angle of attack. For a club like this, which is a 6-iron, that might be 4 degrees down, something like that. And you'd want the low point of the swing to be 4 inches after the ball. Those are some decent numbers for you to aim for. If your swing is not producing those sort of numbers, and it's more likely delivering the club in the way that these numbers on the screen are suggesting, which is the bottom of the swing is happening almost at the ball, your margin for error there is very, very small. And once you get outside onto the grass, you're going to find that your contact changes dramatically. That ball carried 164 yards. As I said, it felt pretty good off the club face. But if I'd have done that on the grass, I think I'd have got a very different outcome. And yet you're not getting to see that that's really what's happening because of the surface that you're hitting from. You're not able to see where the club hits the ground. And that one was another example, again, of low point being 0 inches after the ball. It's literally at the ball. And the angle of attack being 0 as well. That means the bottom of my swing on that last shot was literally at the ball. The lowest point of the swing arc was literally at the ball. Again, 0 margin for error. And yet, on a driving range or in a simulator, not a terrible shot. Certainly in terms of distance, you wouldn't be unhappy with that. That didn't feel horrible. But I'm going to show you on this slow motion video that you're about to watch just where the club strikes the ground on some of these shots. And it's unknowing to you that this is happening. You don't even realize that the club is bottoming out before the ball. As I've already said, on a driving range mat, there's a margin of error here, a certain amount of give in the mat, if you like, that you just do not get from the ground. And so as soon as you get out on the grass, your ball striking collapses and you don't know why. This should teach you why you are struggling to transfer this skill from the range to the course. Now we need a drill that helps you to fix that. So hopefully by now you can take some level of comfort in understanding that it's not entirely your fault that you're not transferring your practice game to the golf course. But now you understand it, there's no excuses for not practicing in a way that helps you to develop this skill of taking that contact point, moving it more forward, and then being able to do that on the golf course. Very simple drill using the golf towel that you have on your golf bag. So if I set up 4 golf balls on the ground like so, and then I took my towel and laid it on the ground right at the back of those 4 golf balls. And then I'm going to remove these 3. So I'm going to move those out of the way, and I'm left with 1 golf ball on the ground. That's going to be my target. This towel is acting as a barrier to this club coming in too low or too shallow and potentially striking the ground before the ball, just like that slow motion video that I shared with you. If I deliver the club in that way, I'm going to get the feedback of hitting the towel. We already know that I could make a swing like that on the mat and hit a perfectly good shot, but I do not want to train that illusion every time I practice. I want to train good contact. With the towel at the back of the ball here, it's going to require me to deliver this club in a way that's different from what I was doing, and more specifically in a way that has a more descending or downward blow, with the angle of attack more down and the low point more forwards. So that's really what I'm going to try and do here. This is an external cue that's giving me feedback. It's forcing me to move differently. I'm not explicitly telling you how to move differently. I'll have a video for that right at the end of today's video that you can watch if you want to know how to move differently. But this is more of an external cue. It's putting something in the way and then training you to miss it. I may even suggest that before you try and hit a ball with this, you would put the towel down and just make some practice swings where you go back and down and strike the ground and try and get a sense of, first of all, missing the towel, and second of all, noticing where that low point or that contact point on the ground is. These are very useful things for you to become familiar with if you struggle to take your ball striking with you onto the golf course. Ultimately, we're going to get up there and hit one. I'm going to keep my club above the towel. I'm going to go ahead and make a swing. Felt good off the club face, carry distance was similar, but you'll notice the low point distance and the attack angle was very different. That's exactly what I would expect from a drill like this. The contact felt solid on the club face, and I know from my experience that that would transfer out onto the golf course. The ones I did before would not transfer onto the golf course. They would be poor contacts, likely hitting the ground before the ball and getting real negative feedback through the club that I hadn't made good contact. That last one, the first one with the towel drill, shows an angle of attack that's 5 degrees down, so my club's still traveling down when it hits the ball, and a low point that's 4 inches after the ball. Pretty much the stock numbers that I described to you before. How much you practice like this is entirely up to you, but I would say there's nobody I've ever met that's too good at this skill. So you could do as much of this as you want to, really, if you're looking to improve your golf in general, and specifically if you're looking to improve your ability to transfer your practice swings and your practice from the golf range to the golf course. There's another one that demonstrates almost identical numbers. That's the skill of controlling the low point location and the delivery of the club in such a way that you'll hit these balls better, not just in practice, but actually on the golf course, as already mentioned. There's a direct correlation between your handicap, your golfing ability, and your ability to demonstrate this skill. I make this look relatively easy based on the fact that I've done this for years and years. This looks fairly simple. Don't be surprised that when you try this for the first time, you start hitting the towel a lot. And I want to make a point on that the feels that you need to take with you to perform and successfully execute this skill, meaning the feelings you create with your body that you need in order to miss the towel, are the feelings that you need to take with you to the golf course. Those are likely to be quite extreme feels if you're poor at this drill. If you struggle to miss the towel, in order to miss the towel, you're going to need to move differently. It's those feels and those changes that you notice in your body and how you're moving, those are the things that are really valuable that you have to take with you when you go to play, because you can't take the towel with you and place it on the ground. So there's a need to practice this skill, there's a need to do this drill when you train, but the real key is getting a sense of the different feels that you have when you execute this successfully. And for most of you, that will be a sensation that you've got much more weight on your lead side when you hit the ball than you ever had previously. That's one of the largest pieces that influences and affects where this club bottoms out. This is the best drill I've ever really come across for training this skill. It works. It looks very simple, but like many simple drills, it works and is very successful if you stick with it. As I mentioned, you will likely struggle with it to begin with, but if you persevere, I would imagine very quickly you can learn to shift that low point more forward and improve that contact. There's one other training aid that I like to use for this, and I'll share that with you next. This is really useful if you practice indoors a lot. And that training aid is this one, the divot board, which is a mat that you strike the golf ball from, and the sequins on the mat change color based on the location of the strike point on the mat itself. And the reason I really like this is because, first of all, it's very visual. It's hard to see where your club hits the ground on a driving range mat. We've already made that observation. We know that that's to be true. The divot board will very, very quickly show you where your club bottoms out. And for many of you, that might be the first time you've ever really paid attention to this. So it's great from that visual perspective to show you where your club bottoms out. Equally, it will show you the difficulty that this skill requires. It is very hard to do this regularly. This is why you struggle. So you may be able to come down and hit the ground in the right place for the first swing. That would be right where the ball is there. But then the very next swing, you might try and do the same thing and notice how you hit a few inches behind the ball. That's another sign that you need to work on this skill. And the final reason that I really like this, you can train indoors with it, you can hit balls with it. So not only is it a great drill or a training aid for drilling in the practice swings where you can see where your club's bottoming out, you can also go ahead and hit full shots with it, which I think makes it really, really valuable. Felt pretty good. Very slight feedback there of hitting just a tiny bit behind the ball. And again, this just shows the sensitivity of this skill, the challenges of getting it right, and then the ability to keep doing it right. It really is a skill that every golfer needs to develop, and it's clear to me that the best golfers do this with the smallest amount of variation to their low point. So again, just more evidence really that this skill is tied very closely to your ability as a golfer. Your handicap will be closely correlated to your ability to control the low point. And with that being said, I would encourage you strongly to work on this drill, work on this skill, whether it's with the divot board or just using the towel drill. The goal of this video was to try and help you understand why you're not currently taking your practice game to the golf course. I want you to be able to do that. The first thing is recognizing where your training is deficient, and the next thing is to make sure that you change the way you practice in order to be able to transfer that skill from the practice ground to the golf course. With the season just around the corner, I hope you can do this in time to be able to have a great ball striking season and an enjoyable year on the golf course. That's really what this is about, helping you to play better golf, helping you to recognize your patterns, and helping you to be a more successful golfer. If you enjoyed the video today and found it valuable, I'd appreciate you hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel if you're new. If you'd like to learn more about the divot board and how this works, I'll put a link down in the description which will take you to the website. There's also a discount code you can use to get some money off should you choose to buy this product. Either way, it's about improving your ability to transfer your low point control skill from the driving range to the golf course. Currently, you're likely training an error without even knowing it. After watching today's video, I hope you're better informed and better equipped to train that skill more efficiently. And if you'd like to learn more about how to train and move your body in such a way that helps to improve low point control, then I'm going to tell you to go and watch this video next. This is an extension of today's video. It really shows you how to move your body and the club in such a way to move that low point more forward and compress those golf shots perfectly.